All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're winding the clock way, way back, not just decades, but centuries, to tap into some of the most powerful ideas ever put to paper. I mean, ever feel like you're just drowning in information? All the pressure to have an opinion on absolutely everything, the sheer speed of it all, it can be pretty overwhelming. If you feel that way, you are definitely not alone. It's kind of the modern condition, right? But what if the answer isn't some brand new app or life hack? What if the best way to handle the future is actually to look to the past? What if the solutions to our most modern problems are just sitting there, waiting for us, in the work of history's greatest minds? Let's dig in and see. So there's this German philosopher, George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, and he had this really fascinating idea. He said that every era has its own special kind of wisdom. But as we keep racing forward, we sometimes drop some really crucial things along the way. So our job today is to go on a little rescue mission for that knowledge. We tend to think of progress as this perfect, straight line, always going up. But Hegel's point is, hang on, not so fast. Sometimes to really move forward, you've got to look back. You have to fill in what he called the blind spots of our present. It's about finding our way, even when we're not totally sure where we're going. So who's going to be our guide on this trip? Well, we've got an absolute all-star lineup of thinkers who pretty much built Western thought. We're talking ancient Greece, the Renaissance, all the way up to the wild ideas of the 19th century. So let's start with maybe the biggest challenge of all, ourselves. Okay, so first up, mastering your own inner world. How do you build resilience? How do you find a little peace in all the chaos of modern life? Turns out, the ancients had some amazingly practical advice. And our first stop is with the Stoics. Now, when you hear Stoic, you probably picture someone totally emotionless, right? Like a robot? But that's not really it at all. Think of Stoicism more like a practical toolkit, or maybe even a mental operating system, for not just surviving, but thriving in a world full of stuff you just can't control. And what's wild is just how modern these ideas feel. You've got Epictetus telling us that real power isn't out there, it's in here. Then you've got Marcus Aurelius, an actual Roman emperor, giving us permission to just say, I don't know, which frees up so much mental space. And then Seneca points out that hope and fear are basically the same thing. They both pull us out of the only moment that's actually real, right now. Okay, but what if calm acceptance just isn't your vibe? Well, let's throw a totally different voice into the mix. Friedrich Nietzsche. So while the Stoics are all about finding peace by focusing on what you can control, Nietzsche comes along and basically says, no, embrace the chaos, embrace the struggle. That's where the good stuff is. I mean, you know this quote. It perfectly captures his whole deal. For Nietzsche, tough times weren't something to just get through. They were the very thing that makes you who you are. It's a completely different way of looking at challenges, not as obstacles, but as the raw material for becoming great. And that leads to a really powerful idea. So whether you lean more towards the calm of the Stoics or the fire of Nietzsche, the core message is kind of the same. That inner strength you have, your resilience, it wasn't given to you so you could just coast through an easy life. It's the tool you were given to face the challenges you were meant to face. All right, so mastering yourself is huge. But of course, none of us are living on a deserted island. We live in societies. And forever, the greatest minds have been arguing about the best way to build them. Yeah, this question of how we should all live together, who gets power, who gets opportunities, it's one of the most heated debates in all of human history. So let's drop in on one of those key conversations from way back in the 18th century. So first up is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a total rock star of the Enlightenment. Now, in his mind, society worked best when everyone had very distinct, very defined roles. He argued that a woman's education should be all about one thing, preparing her to be a great wife and helper to a man. But oh yeah, that view did not go unchallenged. Enter Mary Wollstonecraft, who many call the founder of modern feminism. She took Rousseau's argument and just completely flipped it on its head. She said, hey, denying women a real education doesn't just hurt women, it holds back all of humanity. An uneducated woman, she argued, can't be a true partner, and that will literally stop society from moving forward. Okay, jump forward about a century, and Karl Marx says the problem isn't just social roles, it's baked right into the economic system. He introduces this idea of surplus value. Basically, he's saying that profit is the value a worker creates that they don't get paid for. For Marx, this wasn't just a bug in the system, it was the system, and it was designed to be exploitative. So what's the big takeaway from all this? From this clash of huge ideas? It's that our world is built on a bunch of assumptions about gender, about money, about power. And the debate between Rousseau and Wollstonecraft and Marx's whole critique, it shows us that real progress only happens when we're brave enough to question the very things everyone else takes for granted. And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, leadership. Because it's one thing to have these big ideas, but how do you actually make things happen? Whether you're leading a country, a company, or just your own life, how do you turn wisdom into real action? Let's start with Aristotle. We're talking more than 2,000 years ago, and he was basically describing emotional intelligence. He understood that real leadership isn't just about talking, it's about understanding. You have to get people's fears, their hopes, the emotional core of an issue. Only then, he says, can you actually connect with them and lead them. But empathy is only half the job, right? Leaders also have to solve really hard problems. And for that, we can turn to René Descartes. He gives us this brilliant 4-step playbook. Basically, don't accept anything you aren't sure of, break the problem down into tiny pieces, start with the easiest piece and work your way up, and keep checking your work. It's a super clear, rational way to cut through all the noise. And finally, let's get real. Let's talk pragmatism with Niccolo Machiavelli. He wrote The Prince not as a book about how the world should be, but as a cold, hard, practical manual on how power actually works. It was so direct and so useful that it became required reading for powerful people like Thomas Cromwell, the guy who basically engineered the entire English Reformation. Machiavelli reminds us that in leadership, results matter a lot. So when you put it all together, what do you get? Effective leadership isn't just one thing. It's this incredible combination. You need the empathy of Aristotle, the crystal-clear logic of Descartes, and the get-it-done, real-world focus of Machiavelli. And this, right here, is where it all clicks into place. These three things, self, society, and leadership, they aren't separate topics. They're all connected. It starts with a resilient, self-aware person. Those are the people who are best equipped to help build a better, more just society. And to guide that process, well, that requires clear-eyed, effective leadership. You see, it all feeds into itself. So there you have it. We've heard from Stoics and rebels, rationalists and realists. They've handed us the blueprints for building a stronger self, a better world, and for leading with purpose. The past has offered up its wisdom. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it? Thanks for joining me.